Good evening, everyone. Welcome to yet another segment of Cooking with Benedicta in Tastebudz Kitchen. So today we're going to be preparing Rivers Native Soup. Rivers Native Soup is a favorite. I'll tell you why. It's one of the favorite delicacies coming from the Niger Delta part of Nigeria. Rivers Native Soup has its different varieties. You can choose to have seafood in your Rivers State Native Soup. You can also choose to have assorted meat. Tastebudz NG, it's an industrial kitchen. Here we cater to the different needs of our clients. So some days we do have clients that might want to order foods with seafood, and some days we have clients that just want to order foods with loads and loads of dried fish. So today I have this client from Bayelsa. So she's from the Niger Delta part of Nigeria. She requested for Rivers Native Soup, but she specifically asked for jumbo size snails. As you can see in this video, jumbo size snails, really big African giant snails. If you go through some of my videos, you will see a video where I had African giant snails, but I sauteed them in bell peppers. So it's the same African giant snails we're talking about. You can see. So this is Achatina achatina. That's the botanical name for it anyway. But we're not talking about snails today. Today we are discussing how to prepare Rivers Native Soup using African giant snails, loads and loads of dried fish. She wanted mangala fish. This is dried mangala fish. It's a common dried fish used in the eastern part of Nigeria and Niger Delta area of Nigeria. We do love mangala dried fish. It's a very delicious type of fish. It gives off a lot of delicious aroma when you're making your meal, and of course it tastes really delicious. And we're using loads of dried fish, stock fish. This is called codfish. This is the fish that is responsible for the extraction of our cod liver oil. Cod liver oil, like some of you know the cod liver oil capsules. Yes, that particular oil is extracted from this fish. And for us, we love to eat the fish. That is after the oil has been extracted, the fish has been dried, and it's flown overseas all the way to Nigeria. We love stockfish. Now this fish is very expensive. It's a special delicacy. If you don't have money, guys, you can't eat the stockfish. That's the truth. And I also have acid dried fish here. We have acid dried fish, we have stockfish, we have our mangala fish. All of this is going to be used in the preparation of this Rivers Native Soup. Now, this client of ours also requested for ishon. Ishon is a part of the cow that is I would say it's very difficult to chew. You have to chew it for a while before you swallow. It is called ishon. Some people call it akwala. Akwala is Igbo. Yorubas call it ishon. Okay, so she requested for loads of ishon and cow skin, which is bomo. So these are basically what we're using today in the preparation of our Rivers Native Soup. We're using loads of dried fish, stockfish, asa dried fish, or orange fish. Asa fish is also known as orange fish. We're using ishon and pomo. Can I get a spatula, please, so I can stir our stock, so that way you can see everything that is inside this broth before we start the preparation of this food. It's going to be very quick. This soup is super delicious. It's very healthy. Okay, so I just want you guys to see what's in here. We have our pomo, which is the cow skin, already washed and cooked. We have our ishon, already cooked. Okay, and of course I've introduced you guys to my bone fish, all washed and salted. Now we have our blended red bonnet pepper. This is what the red scotch bonnet pepper looks like, and this is our pepper fish and some blended onion. So this is our red ball onion, and of course these are the leaves you're using today. It is called uziza today. This is uziza leaves. Today we're using uziza. Okay, So guys, if you're looking for what leaves to use, you can use uziza, you can use utazi, but today we're using uziza. So that is about it, but this is going to come in when our soup is all set. Now this is a bit fast, okay guys, but I hope you're understanding everything we're doing. This is our already cooked pot of meat. Today we're using ishon, that is the akwala, the tough part of the cow, and we're also using the cow skin as requested by our clients. That's exactly what she wants in her soup. And of course our African giant snails. So I'm going to be tossing all this into our pot, and I'm going to be taking the pot to the gas stove. Okay, the snails are not going to take so long to prepare. That is why I cooked my meat, because remember I told you this is ishon, that's the tough part of the cow. It takes a longer time to cook, so I had to cook this first before I introduce our snails into the pot of soup. So guys, I hope you're all catching up real fast. Like I said, this is a client's order, and if I do not do this video now, I don't know when I'm going to be free to do this. So I just want to kill two birds with one stone. So this is it. I'm throwing our akatina, African giant snails, into this very big pot. And I'm going to be dumping all of this delicious dried fish into those big pots. Guys, can you see? If you don't have a lot of money to spend on this pot of soup, you might not be able to cook this. This is crazy, right? This is crazy. Look at all of this entering into one very big pot. I just might use a bigger pot because this is a whole lot of dry fish, snails, meat, or more. This is going to be super delicious. But like I said, spending your money has to do with priority. If your priority is eating a big pot of Rivers native soup with everything in it except your own head, then this is it. Okay, so guys, are we good? I'm going to be transferring this into a bigger pot. Okay, so I'm going to get a bigger pot. I'll put this into it, and then I'm going to put all these ingredients one after the other, so you see exactly how everything is going to look like in the pot. Okay, so guys, we just had a change of pot. Okay, the previous one was a bit too small. So now, as you can see, we have the snails in here. What you can see now is the beef broth, or the meat stock. That's the stock we got from cooking our beef and pomo, right? So this is our mangala fish. Everything is in here. So what I'm going to do now, before taking this to the gas stove, is that I'm going to put in all the ingredients. So you're going to watch me put all the ingredients into this pot. Okay guys, now I'm going to put my fish in here. 1, 2 spoons, 3 spoons, 4 spoons. This is a very big pot of soup. It's going to be about 5 liters worth of soup when I'm done cooking. So I'm putting like 4 spoonfuls of blended crayfish. I'm going to be putting my blended ground scotch bonnet pepper. Okay, now this depends on how spicy you want your soup to be. If you want it to be really spicy, you can be more generous with your ground red scotch bonnet pepper. But my client doesn't want it to be so spicy because she has her little ones around. She has children around that will also be partaking in this delicious meal. So I'm not going to be putting too much of the chili. Okay, so I'm not going to be so generous. I'm a bit fast, but I hope you guys are all catching up. We have our blended crayfish in here. We have our ground red scotch bonnet pepper, and we have our blended red onion. Just very little. This is a native soup, so we don't want to be too generous with the onions. Some people might even omit it. Okay, you don't have to put too much of it. So with all this being said, this is now ready to be taken to the gas stove. Okay, so I'm just going to give this a bit of a swirl, and I'm going to taste for salt and seasoning. Remember, we use some salt and seasoning in pre-cooking our meat. So we don't want to just jump and start tossing salt and bouillon cubes. We have to be very careful about that. So now let's have a taste of this. This is really nice. And remember, our blended crayfish contains natural salt, okay? So since you're using blended crayfish in this, you just might want to say no more bouillon cubes. Avoid using too much bouillon cubes in your cooking. It's not so good. Always go natural. Did I also forget to tell you guys just how nutritious and how organic most of our Nigerian delicacies are? Most of our foods are free of GMOs. They are all naturally processed. For example, the dried fish is just sun-dried or dried on hot coal. No preservatives, nothing. All you use in drying the fish is just salt. Same thing goes for our snails. It is hand-picked in the wild. Our African giant snails are hand-picked in the wild. Our blended crayfish, as you can see here, our blended crayfish, you see, it's just very tiny shrimps, sun-dried. No preservatives, no GMO, very natural. Our red Scotch bonnet pepper, also hand-picked from the garden or from our farms. So eating Nigerian meals, I tell you, is extremely delicious, and it's very, very nutritious. As long as you're not having it with too much of the carbohydrates part of it. For example, you can have this soup as a standalone meal. You don't have to, you mustn't have it with a big bowl of pounded yam. You can always have it, enjoy your snails, eat your dried fish, have a glass of wine, and call it a day. Okay? So eating our Nigerian dishes are super delicious and very, very nutritious, because most of the ingredients we use are all organic. They are not processed, they don't have additives, they don't have preservatives, and all of those things. So, go Nigeria! I love our cooking. Now we're going to be moving this over to the gas stove, okay? And then I'm going to come back and tell you exactly what we're going to do with our hand-pressed red palm oil. Whoever told you eating palm oil is bad, is going to clog your arteries and all of that. We're going to talk about that in our next video, just how healthy is eating red palm oil, especially when you're eating it in moderation. Like, we're going to be using this, just a tiny teeny bit of this, in preparing this big pot of soup. But before I get to this part, let's put our pot on the gas stop. While it's simmering away, I'm going to come right back and we're going to talk about our palm oil. So our big pot of soup is on the gas stop. We're going to let it simmer. We're going to let it simmer for about 20 minutes. So our African giant snails, Achatina achatina, can cook. Can you see the snails? I'm going to let the snails cook. And while the snails are cooking, our stockfish, which is a bit tough, but not very tough, because it has been soaking in hot water and salt for about 4 hours. So our stockfish is not so tough anymore, but I want the broth of the soup. I want the stockfish to simmer in the broth of the soup. Same thing with the snails. So while the snail is simmering in the broth of our soup, our stockfish, it's also going to simmer in this big pot of soup, and it's going to make it super delicious. So I'm going to cover this up and we're going to let it simmer for about 20 minutes, and then we'll come back and see just how our cooking is going. So while this is simmering, I'm going to take you over to the tabletop and we're going to be discussing exactly what I intend to do with my palm oil. Now let's find out. Now, in preparing our Rivers native soup, today we're going to be using ofo. blended offal as our thickener. This is what is going to thicken the broth of the soup at the end of the day. Now, when you're preparing some sauces, like some oriental sauces, you tend to use corn flour as a thickening agent to thicken the broth of your sauce. But in the preparation of our Rivers native soup, we're going to be using what we call achi powder or offal powder. It depends on what is available in your locality. Maybe where you're staying, you might not have access to buying offal, but you have achi powder, you can use that. So whatever it is that works for you. And I have some of my friends that are living in the States, some are living in the UK, and they usually ask me this question: Tastebudz, I can't seem to get my hands on offal powder or achi powder. What can I use to substitute that? I often tell them you can go ahead and use all-purpose flour. The all-purpose flour you use in baking your cakes and your muffins, that will work fine. You can also use that as a thickener for your soup. Too bad if you can get this, because this actually has a particular type of texture, taste, and flavor that it gives to your soup. But if you do not have access to offal powder or achi powder, please be my guest, use your all-purpose flour. So today, this is what I'm going to be using to thicken our Rivers native soup. Okay, so before I do that, I'm going to be pouring some of this red palm oil, fresh palm oil. Remember, this is palm oil, not palm kernel oil. Palm oil gotten from fresh palm, the skin of palm kernels. So cold pressed, very nutritious, very nutritious. It's rich in vitamin K. It is a wonderful cooking oil. It's good for your body. Your body understands this oil and digests it easily. So we're using red palm oil. We're going to heat this up in the up a bit on the gas stop, and then we're going to sprinkle some of the achi powder into this when it's hot. So we've got a frying pan or a wok on the gas stop, and we're going to be heating the oil for about a minute. We're not going to heat it up until it gets to the smoke point. No, it's not going to get to the smoke point, but it's going to get a bit hot enough to dissolve our achi powder in it, and hot enough to lighten the color of the palm oil. We want the palm oil not to be dark red. We want the palm oil to be a bright orange. So we're just going to heat up the palm oil for about 3 minutes, and we're going to be introducing our achi powder or our offal powder into this oil. Now our palm oil is hot. I'm going to put in the achi powder. Watch what is happening. I'm going to make a slurry, like a paste. Mind you, I just turned off the heat. The fire is not up anymore. Can you see it is bright orange? Yay! It's bright orange. I don't know if the camera light is doing this justice, but this is a very bright orange, and the heat has been turned off because my oil is as hot as I like it to be, and I have the bright orange. Can you see that? Now the good thing is I mustn't use all of this slurry in my today's cooking. I'm going to be adding this 1 spoon at a time into my pot of soup. Once I think my soup has gotten to the consistency that I want, I'm just going to stop adding this slurry into my soup. And whatever is left from today's cooking is going to be put into a small bowl and kept in the freezer. I'm going to freeze it for when next I will be needing this. So it is not compulsory that you must finish the slurry made from your palm oil and achi paste, or your palm oil and offo powder. You mustn't finish everything in one cooking, okay? And some people might ask me, don't you have an exact measurement you want to be using when cooking? The thing is this, because all the ingredients we use are organically sourced, they are not processed, they are not synthesized. The achi powder or the offo powder I actually gotten from achi seeds and offo seeds. Some of these seeds are properly dried in the sun before being blended, and when it's very dry, before it is crushed into its powdery state, it makes for a thicker soup at a quicker time. For example, if this achi powder was thoroughly dried, if the achi pods were thoroughly dried before it was being converted into the powder state, you're going to be needing a smaller portion in making your soup get thick. So if it's not properly dried, you might need 3 to 4 to 5 spoons in order for your soup to be thick. And all of these measures cannot be determined simply by looking at the powder. You cannot determine which is going to thicken faster or which batch is going to thicken slower. So the trick to this is ensure that you introduce a spoon of the slurry into your pot of soup at a time. Do not be in a hurry to just dump everything into your pot of soup. You might end up getting a pot of soup that is super thick, and you end up adding tons and tons of water, and you don't want that to happen. So when we get to that stage, you're going to watch me add this slurry a spoon at a time until we get the right consistency for our soup. Now, this is our pot of soup. Can I get a wooden spatula? It is simmering away. I'm going to toss in my ungolo. Ungolo is it's from the mollusca family, like the snails, like the periwinkles. It all belongs to that family, but the texture is a bit tougher than that of the periwinkles. So I'm going to be introducing the ungolo to my pot of soup now because it's slightly tougher than the periwinkles. So this is going to go in now. We need about 10 minutes for this to simmer properly in our pot of soup, okay? So the ungolo goes in now to meet snails and all the yummalicious in this pot of soup. So what is this going to say? Our soup is almost ready. In the next 10 minutes, look at the snails. The snails are almost ready, okay? And the stockfish has been simmering for a while. So this is going to be so delicious. Oh, I like it when my stockfish is really tender and well seasoned. It makes for a delicious meal. So can you see this? Oh, bubbly, bubbly. Almost ready. So in the next 10 minutes or in the next 8 minutes, we'll be back to find out how our food is faring. So let's see how our pot of boiling soup is doing. Wow, at this point I think our soup is all set. So what I'm going to do now is I will be introducing the thickener, or rather the thickening agent, which is the slurry I made earlier on. I don't know if you guys can remember us making our slurry with palm oil and offo powder. Remember I said you can also use achi powder or all-purpose flour to thicken if you're living in the States or in the UK and you do not have access to achi powder or offo powder. At this point, our soup is all set. I'm just going to turn down the heat a bit and gradually I'll add our slurry made of palm oil and achi powder. So guys, remember the slurry I made? This is it. So I'm going to be introducing this. Remember what we're preparing today is Rivers native soup. with ishon, dried fish, loads and loads of dried fish, snails, and the likes. So I'm going to be introducing this into our pot of soup. So it's going to be thick. Okay. I'm going to be introducing this gradually, a spoon at a time. Can I have a spoon, please? So I'm just going to stir this. I'm going to be using a spoon so we all get to see exactly how many spoons we'll be needing before it gets. Okay. 1, 2. I'm going to just put 3 spoons and I'll let it simmer. So I'm going to stir it and see if it's thick enough. Remember, it's your choice. You have the right to make it as thick as you want it to be. But I tell you, the original recipe for the soup is meant to be a light, runny soup. It's not meant to be thick. No, it's not meant to be really thick. It's meant to be light and runny, so you can eat it as a standalone meal. And should you want to eat it with a type of swallow, when you dip your swallow into the soup, it's meant to run down your fingers. That's what makes it delicious. It's meant to be a light, runny soup that is very spicy, very, very peppery. But remember, you have the right to choose exactly how spicy you want your soup to be. If you don't like that much spice, please be generous with the spice. So we're gonna watch the soup get thicker and thicker slowly, okay? So you can see I intentionally turned down the heat. That way I can control the thickness, the consistency of the soup. I can choose to make it thicker. I can choose to make it very watery. So gradually it's getting thicker. It's getting thicker gradually. Can you see that? It's getting thicker gradually. I'm going to add a bit more. I want it a bit thicker, so I'm just going to add a bit more slurry, our paste, which is our achi paste. I'm just going to add a bit more so the soup can get thicker. Wow, we're almost there. It's almost ready. Oh, this is so exciting. I really love it when you start cooking a pot of soup and then you're gradually coming to the end of the preparation. I don't know if the camera is doing this pot of soup justice. Can you see it's getting thicker? Can you tell? Can you tell? By the way, the different parts of meat is now sluggishly moving around the pot of soup, you can tell it's getting thicker. The consistency is coming, it's coming around. So at this point, I'm going to be throwing in my periwinkles. Now, I save my periwinkles for the last. Do you know why I do that? Because of the texture of our periwinkles. It's actually very tender. It needs about a minute in our boiling pot. and it's all ready. I don't like my periwinkles soggy. I like them a bit crunchy, you know. That way you can feel that tiny bit of crunch when you eat it. And at this point, I'm going to toss in greens. This is going to act as, you know, the way you put fresh basil or fresh parsley in your cooking. This is our own parsley. This is how you sprinkle it into your soup. It's not just a garnish. It serves as a garnish, well, fine, it serves as a garnish. But the most important thing is that it adds that distinct flavor that just makes your soup different. It sets it apart from just any soup. When you taste this greens in this soup, you just know you're enjoying a pot of Rivers native soup. It's just delicious. Can you tell our soup is getting really thick? Now this is it. Ooh. It has this hot taste that it adds to the soup, and then it changes the coloring. Can you see the soup is now thick? Some people might think this is too thick for them, and if you think the consistency is a bit too thick, you can feel free to add a bit of water and a bit of salt and pepper so that balances out. Can I have a spoon, please? I want to stir this with a spoon so that way you get to see everything. Now, I want to add a bit more uziza leaves into this. Now, remember at this point, everything has to do with your preferences. Do you like more greens? Do you like more spice? Do you like more salt? Do you like more pepper in it? Now it's left for you to play around with the soup exactly the way you like it to be. So, can you see this? Look at our stockfish. Look at the delicious snails. Our African giant snails in the soup. Can you see the consistency? So our soup is all set. Woo! It's all set and ready to be dished into our 5-liter bowl. Now remember, this is Rivers native soup prepared with assorted meat. You can also prepare your Rivers native soup using seafood, which I'm going to show you in the next 2 minutes. While I was busy preparing this, on the other side of the kitchen, I had one of our chefs preparing the same Rivers native soup with seafood. So it's all about your preferences. How do you like it? Do you like it with seafood? Do you like it with giant African snails and dried fish and ishan? Whatever part of the cow you like. It's up to you, totally up to you. And it's very delicious also with goat meat. Ta-da! Soup is ready. So it's basically up to you. How do you like it? With loads and loads of dried fish, with African giant snails, stockfish. Can you see all of this good, yummy, yummy, delicious parts of meat in the soup? Now I'm going to be showing you guys River State native soup prepared with seafood, strictly seafood. While I was busy preparing this, and another part of the kitchen, one of our chefs was preparing this exact same soup using all seafood. So it boils down to exactly what you want. How do you like your Rivers native soup prepared? With assorted meat, with African giant snails, with seafood. What do you really like it with? So this was a special request from a client of ours, and it's all ready. Look at the consistency. Can you see how runny the soup is? It's runny. It's runny, and with all that beautiful blue-green colored periwinkles. Yum! Thank you guys for watching, and I hope this was not very difficult for you to catch up with. You can prepare this meal at home for your loved ones, for your family. I am preparing this today for a client of ours because this is a commercial kitchen. We take care of your culinary needs. So thank you for watching. It's bye-bye. So guys, our 5-liter bowl of soup is ready. I'm going to be dishing it into this pot. Yum! This is going to be super delicious. Woo! Look at that. Look at this goodness. I'm loving this. Our client is going to have a swell time enjoying this meal. Look at that. Woo! Look at that. So, it's ready. Thank you for watching, guys. Thank you for watching, guys, and I hope you should be able to cook this at home for your family and loved ones. So this is our 5-liter bowl of Rivers native soup, and for Tastebudz NG, it's bye-bye.